textbook. Otherwise you pop your peas.
Does that work?
Yeah, it does. A brief history of Dada. Dada was a radical art movement founded in 1916 during World War I in the Café Voltaire in Zurich. It soon migrated to major cities all over the world. In Paris, it became known as Surrealism, a movement that involved primarily visual art, literature, and Peggy Guggenheim, an American heiress who found that Surrealist artists liberated her from her boring marriage with the magic of their erotic imagery, their elongated forms, such a far cry from the dull world of the eccentric Guggenheims. Peggy went to Europe, where she quickly developed a voracious appetite for Surrealist artists, whom she picked up everywhere in Paris. She met Samuel Beckett and took him to her apartment on Saint-Germain-des-Prés, where they stayed for 12 days, after which she lost her interest in the old masters and decided to embrace Surrealist artists, often acquiring a different one every day. Night might find her in some rundown studio in Montmartre, where she often wanted a piece and was willing to pay for it, and gave artists well-hung exhibitions. In her gallery was a hotbed of activity, often involving police, paddy wagons, and the wives of the artists Peggy was collecting. At a time when penicillin was first made available to the public, Peggy took on Marcel Duchamp, Miro, Yves Tanguy, Fernand Léger, Man Ray, Max Ernst, and James Joyce's son, Giorgio. In fact, at one time or another, Peggy's stable included most of the artists of the 20th century who left their marks on her. As the German army advanced on Paris, Peggy took on Brancusi, attracted by more than his bird in space. But soon she grew weary of the Surrealists, who always made scenes in cafes. She was always on the lookout for angry wives. After the wife of Yves Tanguy threw a fish at her in the Café Don, Tanguy himself said he was confused by having money and rolled French francs into balls which he threw at people in the street. So Peggy packed up Ernst and fled to the safety of New York, where she divorced Ernst after she discovered Pollock and Gorky, to whom she gave exhibitions. In old age, Peggy lost interest in acquiring new artists and retired to Venice, where she bought a palazzo, giving exhibitions in her garden and finding diversion with her private gondolier, Gianni, and where her Grand Canal openings kept her name alive as the mistress of modern art.
All right. Thank you, Diane Manister.